The young Zephyrian warrior's claws scraped against the metal floor as he paced before the council of elders. His crimson scales flickered with barely contained rage, and his voice cracked like thunder when he spoke. "Why do we cower from these weak, pink creatures?" Commander Vex demanded, his yellow eyes blazing with the fire of untested youth. Elder Korath, his ancient blue scales dulled by countless cycles, raised one weathered hand. The gesture silenced the murmurs that had begun to ripple through the chamber. Around the circular room, dozens of Zephyrian elders sat in their floating meditation pods, their eyes reflecting the wisdom of ages. "Sit, young one," Koratha's voice was like distant thunder, soft but carrying the weight of storms. "You speak of weakness, but you understand nothing of strength." The elder's eyes seemed to look through time itself. "Before you were even a thought in your parents' minds, I commanded fleets that conquered 17 star systems. But humans." He paused, a shadow crossing his ancient features. "Humans taught me the difference between winning battles and surviving wars." Vex's tail lashed behind him as he reluctantly settled onto his haunches. "Then tell me, Elder. What makes these soft-skinned mammals so terrifying that the mighty Zephyrian Empire refuses to engage them in honorable combat?" The chamber fell silent except for the gentle hum of life support systems. Koratha's claws drummed against his meditation pod as memories surfaced like bubbles in deep water. "Very well," he said finally. "Let me tell you about the humans, and why we added them to the forbidden list." The elder's voice took on the rhythm of a storyteller, each word carefully chosen. "It was 3 decades ago when we first encountered them. A small blue world, third planet from a yellow star. Our scouts reported a primitive species, no faster-than-light travel, limited to their own solar system, constantly fighting among themselves. They seemed perfect for subjugation." Koratha's eyes closed as he continued. "I commanded the 3rd Battle Fleet, 50 ships strong. We expected to conquer them in a single solar cycle." Young Vex leaned forward, his earlier anger replaced by curiosity. "What happened?" "We began with standard protocol," Korath continued. "A demonstration of power. We destroyed one of their military installations. We expected surrender messages within hours. Instead, we received something unprecedented in our military history." The elder's voice dropped to barely above a whisper. "They sent us a single transmission. For words that still echo in my nightmares, you chose poorly, aliens." The chamber stirred uneasily. "Instead of cowering, they rallied," Korath said, his voice growing stronger. "Every human nation, every tribe, every group that had been at each other's throats for millennia, they united instantly. Not through fear, but through something far more dangerous, righteous fury." "But surely our superior technology," Vex began. "Technology means nothing when your enemy refuses to follow the rules of engagement," Korath interrupted. "Humans don't fight like civilized species. They don't seek honorable battle or territorial conquest. When threatened with extinction, they become something else entirely. They become survival itself, weaponized and unleashed upon the universe." The old warrior's scales darkened as he relived the memory. They turned their entire planet into a weapon. Civilian factories became missile production facilities overnight. Their children learned to build explosives in school. They didn't just fight with their military, every single human became a soldier in their war for survival. "We landed troops on 6 continents," Korath continued. "We expected quick victories against their primitive weapons. Instead, we found that humans had studied us during our approach. They knew our weaknesses, our tactics, our equipment specifications. They had been preparing for invasion their entire existence, fighting war games against themselves for centuries." Elder Terex, her silver scales catching the chamber's soft light, spoke for the first time. "Tell him about the children, Korath." Koratha's massive head bowed. "On the continent they call North America, our forces cornered a group of human younglings in what they called a school. We expected tears, surrender, pleas for mercy. Instead, those children, some barely tall enough to reach our knee joints, looked at our battle-hardened soldiers and said, "You messed with the wrong species." Then they detonated explosives they had built from classroom supplies. The silence in the chamber was absolute. "That was when we understood," Korath said quietly. "Humans don't have natural weapons because they don't need them. They are natural weapons. Every tool becomes a weapon in their hands. Every disadvantage becomes an opportunity." Commander Vex's earlier bravado had completely evaporated. Surely we could have overwhelmed them with numbers. Numbers? Elder Jorik laughed bitterly. They turned our own numbers against us. Humans have spent their entire evolutionary history as prey animals who learned to hunt predators. They know how to be outnumbered. On every front, they adapted faster than we could change tactics, Korath resumed. Our energy weapons. They developed reflective armor using materials from their own mirrors. Our aerial superiority. They turned their passenger aircraft into missile platforms. Our ground forces. Every human settlement became a fortress. The elder's voice grew distant, haunted. But the worst part wasn't their weapons or tactics. It was their spirit. We captured thousands of humans, expecting information, cooperation, anything that might help us. Instead, they looked at us with something I had never seen in a defeated enemy: pity. Pity. Vex's voice cracked. They felt sorry for us, Korath confirmed. A human female, barely past adolescence, looked at our interrogation team and said, "You poor creatures. You have no idea what you've awakened, do you?" Then she smiled while facing certain death. That smile still haunts my dreams. The turning point came during the Battle of the Amazon Basin, Korath said. We had driven human forces into what appeared to be a hopeless position. Dense jungle, limited technology, cut off from their supply lines. We expected easy cleanup operations. He paused, gathering strength. Instead, they made the jungle itself fight for them. They knew every plant, every animal, every root and rock in that terrain. They turned trees into sniper nests, rivers into barriers, and wild animals into unwitting allies. Our troops began disappearing, not killed in battle, but simply vanishing into a green hell where every shadow might hide death. Then came the counterattack, Elder Jorik said. Humans didn't just defeat us in the Amazon, they followed us. They tracked our retreating forces across 3 continents, learning our technology, our communication systems, our command structure. By the time they reached our landing sites, they were using our own equipment against us. The chamber filled with uncomfortable shuffling. The final insult came when they breached our command ship, Korath continued. I was preparing our retreat when a human appeared on my bridge. Not a soldier, a scientist. A thin, elderly male who introduced himself as Professor Chen. He walked past my guards like they weren't there and said something that still gives me nightmares. What did he say? Vex asked, though he seemed afraid to hear the answer. He pointed to our star charts and said, "Lovely worlds you have there. It would be a shame if anything happened to them." Koratha's voice trembled. This elderly human, standing on my bridge surrounded by beings who could tear him apart, was threatening our homeworld. And the terrifying part? We believed him. Professor Chen offered us a choice, Korath continued. Leave peacefully, never return, and spread the word that Earth is not to be touched. In exchange, they would not follow us home. We don't want to conquer anyone, the professor said. We just want to be left alone. But if you force us to choose between your survival and ours, we will choose ours every time, and we will do it with a thoroughness that will terrify the galaxy. The young commander's aggressive posture had melted into something approaching respect, mixed with healthy fear. So we retreated. We fled, Korath corrected without shame. We ran like the wind itself was chasing us. And when we reached the Galactic Council, we did something unprecedented. We recommended that Earth be placed on the forbidden list. Worlds that are never to be approached, never to be contacted, never to be threatened, Elder Jorik explained. There are only 7 worlds on that list. Earth is the only one that earned its place not through superior technology, but through pure, concentrated, terrifying competence. Humans don't fight wars, Korath said, his voice carrying hard-earned wisdom. They solve problems. And if you make yourself a problem in their minds, they will solve you with the same determination they use to split atoms or cure diseases. They will study you, understand you, anticipate you, and then systematically dismantle everything you are. The chamber fell silent again. Finally, Commander Vex spoke, his voice small and uncertain. What happened to the humans after we left? They went back to fighting each other, Korath said with something that might have been admiration. Within a year, they were having territorial disputes just like before. But every ship that passes through their system receives the same message: Earth is protected. Those who come in peace are welcome. Those who don't, won't. You see, young one, Elder Tarek said softly, humans understand something that we warrior species have forgotten. True strength isn't in the ability to destroy, it's in the ability to choose not to. They could have followed us home, could have turned the galaxy into a battlefield. Instead, they chose mercy. But that mercy came with a promise: never again. So when you ask why we never fight the humans, Korath concluded, the answer is simple. Because they gave us a choice: leave them alone, or find out exactly how creative a species can become when faced with extinction. We chose wisely. We chose life. Commander Vex bowed his head, his youthful arrogance replaced by wisdom. I understand now, Elder. Remember it well, Korath said. And remember this above all. Humans are not our enemies because we choose not to be theirs. That choice is the most important military decision our species has ever made. As the council session ended, one truth echoed in every mind: some battles are won not by fighting, but by being wise enough never to start them. And in a galaxy full of predators, humans had proven that the most dangerous thing of all was not a hunter, but prey that had learned to hunt back. The humans remained on their blue world, living their lives in peace. And across the galaxy, civilizations whispered the same warning: never fight the humans. They don't just win wars, they solve them.